The following is an exclusive production of Minuteman Command. The Flagship Pod with your hosts, ESPN personalities Mike Corey and Rene Ingoglia is on the air. Brought to you by Todd Fritz Roofing with insight and info from UMass and MAC Insiders. From the Command Studios, here are your hosts, Mike and Rene.
What's going on, man? What's up, everybody? This is what I get asked every year, right, Rene? When I'm not doing games, like, what are you doing? It's like, well, I haven't shaved in a while. I got my hat on. I'm in the process of moving. Like that's what's going on this off season.
You look like you just played Oakmont. You look all beat up.
Yeah, exactly, right, dude. How awesome was that, by the way? Like, were you able to see it? Because I know you're working.
Without boring people, I watched a lot of it here and there. I go back and forth between like guys like suffering like that and then also hitting good shots that just miss and you get penalized. So I don't know.
Right.
I go back and forth with the U.S. Open. So.
Yeah, but you know what though? Like it reminded me a little bit of like just kind of the whole UMass attitude and back in the day, refuse to lose, all that kind of stuff, man. Because think about it. If you and I or anybody else and their grandmother went like 4 over or you sucked it up in the first 5 holes, you're like, oh shit, I'm done. Forget it. Screw this.
Life-changing for JJ Spawn. Phenomenal.
Oh my God.
Man.
Right?
Yeah.
Just stick in it mentally and like come back and then like a 65-footer. I mean, like, what a story.
And
Father's Day, two girls.
That whole week is all mental for those guys. That's what that is. It's all mental. But listen, so we had to do an all-in-a-bolt. I know my camera looks a little different. I had to go to the iPad today. The computer was not working right, so that's why my picture looks a little different. Good to be back. Listen. Yeah. You and Christian knocked it out of the park last week. Great episode. Christian gave so much information. So as people know, we have multiple things going on in our lives. So from time to time, one of us won't be able to make a pod. Christian will jump in so that's what happened last week. But it's good to be back this week, buddy.
No, it's good to see you. He was awesome. Look, they're doing an incredible job. Hey guys, Rene's got 8 dogs. It's surprising that none of them made any noise.
This is the first barking that we've had.
First barking.
9 episodes.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. He's like, welcome back too. He just wanted to say welcome back. How awesome are they doing on the whole site, right? I mean, Minuteman Command every day. Like I said, folks, sign up. It's free. You get an email every day about like all the different recruits, who's coming in, what they're doing. Like you really do now feel like more part of the program. You're excited about it. It's pretty cool because they're doing an incredible job with all the articles and the coverage right now. Yeah. So all right. So let's get into it here. You're back. Everything's good. And I was saying, Minuteman Command, all the stuff that they're doing right now, keeping you up to speed. And it's only June, right, Rene? I mean, I know we're less than 3 months away, but like I'm pretty excited with like the moves that they're making and the guys are bringing in. Not this year, not just this year, but for the future too.
Yeah. At the end of the show, there's a couple comments I want to make about Minuteman Command, and they're killing it. And some other people I talked to about the UMass football program this week, and I think it'll be enlightening. But hey, without further ado, Mike, let's bring in our first guest.
Yes. So I have to go to my phone because I wrote down the exact title. Okay,
this title, listen.
Yeah.
Take your time, read it. There's
a lot of words in it. Yeah, here he is. Executive Director of Student Athlete Marketing, Recruitment, and Retention, Jason Bermant. What's up, Jay?
Guys, good to see you both, and thank you for doing everything with us.
I told him before we came on, Rene, it's like he might as well work with ESPN. They've given him now 15 more jobs to do, right?
Listen, when you're any business you're in, if you show you're competent at doing a job, and then you can do a couple more, it's like, well, yeah, just keep going, and they'll just, you'll do 8 things that usually 3 people do, So,
and he is doing a great job. And then Jay, then we'll probably start to have you do that and oversee UMass Lowell and Dartmouth, Boston, all these other places. So, hey, tell us what's going on. Like, first off, I know Rene's known you for a while. I've met you this year and stuff. It's great to see you. Tell everybody about your role and how you got connected and you're back here at UMass.
Yeah, no, thanks, guys. So, listen, everything started off right here on this field. Yeah. Was playing football here in the mid-'90s. Was fortunate enough to be in the same locker room with Rene and learned a ton from him and from overall leadership and looking out for everybody in the locker room, including a young freshman like me. And Rene was just always, real interested in making sure that the entire group understood what our goal was. And, we had a hell of time here as running backs, but I had a great positional coach, Coach Gordon at the time, who was really kept me around, and Coach Atrondo that, really showed me how to build up my body and to trust in myself. And all of that led to being affiliated with a program that, now here I am back serving again. Left UMass, went to into the sports marketing world for 15 years, places from Foot Locker in their sports marketing group, getting some really good league exposure with the National Basketball Association, working in their marketing partnerships group, and then finishing up with Van Wagner, who's just become, a real player in the sports marketing world as a whole. Take those first 15 years and then working for the Department of Defense and doing a lot of finance for a specific company, long-range forecasting, budgeting. Ryan Bamford saw the whole and brought me in and realized that he had a guy who had a family background. I met my wife here. My kids are all UMass, as far as just believing in this program too. And you take my sports background, my student athlete background, and then add in the finance, and here we are.
And let me say this, Jay. I've obviously known Jay for over 30 years. We've stayed together, in contact because of football. He did great work at the Gridiron Club too. You got this job, Jay, and you've been in there less than a year now because of the new landscape of not just college football, but college athletics with the revenue share and the contracts. So kind of explain to people now exactly, now that the house settlement is signed,
yep.
How kind of, as best you can, how does the revenue share work with our athletes? And what we're told is about 80% of that revenue is going to go to football, maybe 15% to men and women's basketball, and 5% to everybody else. Now I know that's school to school, so kind of give us the breakdown of that.
Yeah, so in the first 180 days since we walked in the door, and it literally has been 180 days straight of working to build up all of these different programs. One of the things, additionally that I'm doing is not just with football, it's men's and women's basketball as well as hockey. So, we're standing up a lot of different programs in a hurry. What we're learning about is fluid as this situation is that, so you've got the College Sports Commission, the CSC. So Brian Seeley is the one that's going to be sort of overseeing this governing body. And then you've got NIL Go, which is for any of the true NIL deals that are going to go in, and, sort of looking at that, some of these core competencies that they're saying that they're going to review. So this range of compensation, what is the player aspect to it with the corporation? That's some of the big things that they're going to be reviewing right up front. And then on the back end, there's this thing called CAPS. And so CAPS is the college athlete payment system, and that's the revenue share piece. And both sides are going to be submitting deals and that are getting reviewed. And that's when you bring in Deloitte and this LBI software and the algorithms that they've written to review these deals. And then if it needs to get further review, then there's this one-on-one person to person.
So,
go ahead.
So Deloitte is just going to review the NIL deals going forward, right? The in-house revenue share, that's a done deal. Like the schools do pay whatever they want to pay, and that there's no auditing there. It's just within that cap.
Allocating funds, monitoring payments, the compliance, tracking the rosters and the allocate. So that's what CAPS is all about. And then you've got NIL Go on the other side. That's, then reviewing those true NIL deals, and making sure that there's a valid business purpose is one of the things that they've been hammering home, on the NIL Go side.
Yeah, that's what my question was. It was like, I get it. The athletes, I mean, they deserve money. The ones that are really bringing in, the revenue like that. That's what I thought this whole thing was all about to begin with, right? NIL. It's like, geez, you made $1 million off my jerseys, or I helped bring in ticket sales and all that. Not every player's doing that. So it's like, this is great for every athlete because everybody seems to benefit mostly, even though it's a lot of the top guys that bring in the dough. But I was wondering about that, Jay. It's like, boy, it seems like another layer, another governing body, another person to like really track this stuff. It's like, look, correct me if I'm wrong, but if any of these big schools are, they got a ton of money and these sponsors and they just want to like throw more money at these people, they're going to make it work, right? They're going to figure it out. They're not going to get shut down to be like, oh, you're not doing enough for the car dealership that is paying you this $50,000. It's like, give me a break. I mean, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. It just seems a little fishy to me.
The compliance and the overall review, that's a questionable piece to all of this. And what they're actually going to be able to do from that governance side, I don't know. Right? And it is, the other piece that still is out there are the collectives, and we're very fortunate to have the Massachusetts collective as well. Pat McWilliams does a hell of a job for us, on that side of the ball. But yeah, you've got the revenue share side, and then on the opposite side of the field, but still part together is the collectives. And you're absolutely right, Mike. It's two separate entities.
All right. I thought we were trying to make it a little bit easier, right? To correct me if, again, it sounds like you've got even more on your plate now that you got to kind of make sure is in line, right? I mean, working with all these people, it's a lot. I mean, give you a lot of credit, man.
All right, I got a couple questions. Okay, let's get into numbers.
Go ahead.
When the house settlement was done last week, and if I say any numbers wrong, Jay, just correct me. I think the overall, we'll call it a cap. The overall cap for schools for revenue share, $20.5 million. Do I have that right?
20.5. Yep, you got it.
So
that's the max ceiling. That's not a UMass ceiling, and that's
what I wanted to say for listeners and viewers. That $20.5 million. There's not a lot of schools that can hit that. Power schools certainly will, but even some of the Power 4 schools are probably going to struggle to get to that number. And I know Ryan Bamford has said this publicly, so I know you're not going to speak out of turn here. What is UMass's number for this 25-26 season? And I know he said it goes up for the next season. What's that number?
It does. And let me touch it. Let me answer something before I get to that. Within that 20.5, all right, one of the things that also feeds into that is additional scholarships. Okay. So while you might have a top number, there are a lot of teams that have not been getting fully funded. So we are increasing scholarships across all sports. Okay. So yes, so there are numbers that are being floated around and escalations over the next 3 years. That I think you'll see that 13 to 15 is a starting point, and it's stepping up from there across all sports. And that's the critical piece, because we've got a lot of people information wise that are not exactly understanding and thinking that those numbers are dedicated to just one sport or another.
Right.
It's the aggregate amount. And let's not forget that the scholarships, the most important piece to this, is what's being fed first.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. This is every year, right? I mean, people that you hear these numbers, like sometimes you go on these like capital campaigns projects, right? It's like, oh, we need to make 100 million. This is 20 million every year. Like we got to get, we're at 13 to 15, like you said, and it's going to go up. But it's like, boy, that's a lot of money every single year to make sure you're funding everybody and everyone.
You bet. And that's, the next piece of that job is twofold for me. So we have Script U, which is an internal piece that is how we're building up that scholarship base, and for people to be able to contribute money in that way. I'm also out in the field trying to build more awareness, more sponsorships, and more support that way. So, it's a two to, an emerging three-headed dog as far as how funds need to come in here to keep something going.
Great job on the Script U golf tournament there too, Jay. I had a lot of fun there. My group was 13 under. We didn't even sniff the top three. I guess we were tied for fourth or something. I don't know. It was a good day though.
Don't get me going with scrambles the way people cheat. We're not even going to get into that conversation.
Yeah, you know what? No more mulligan. Why do people? I know it's like a way to make money. Find another way to make more, another 50-50 or something. Because like the mulligans is such bullshit. I mean, you know what I mean? Everyone's like, I think we have another mulligan, or we got a mulligan. And like after a while, you've taken like 16 extra shots.
Yeah, we can do a whole show.
Mike, we just wanted to get you to dig in a little deeper into the pocket and donate for the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't take mulligans. Jason, let me ask you this: football, because people watching this football, if you can say how much money, we're talking money, for this upcoming season, how much money is dedicated to football, and where does that rank in the MAC? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're competing with, right? Our conference now.
Yeah, that's a great question, Rene. And so it's out there that our operating budget in football for additional benefits is $2 million for this year, and it is increasing, and we are going to lead the MAC in that spend. There are some of our peers that are in and about that same area, but we have the ammunition to go out and hit the ground running. Listen, the culture that Coach Harasimiak has brought into the locker room is now echoing through all the Performance Center. We've got guys that are just completely energized from the morning workouts that we're doing with Coach Green, and then how it filters out during the day, and working with Coach Bajakin, all right, Coach Kite, you got Coach Cass, everybody, we are just firing on all cylinders, and we're bringing in a crop of students that can appreciate this level of engagement and coaching that our guys are giving on a day in and day out.
Good. Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to be comparable. I just want people to understand, so for the money that we're putting in, and then that money goes to football, what is a school that does fully fund like $20.5 million? We'll just say Alabama, it's an extreme example. What are they giving to football out of their $20.5 million, in your opinion? Or do you?
That's the numbers that Rene was talking about earlier, when you're seeing that 75-80% mark of what's going from their $20.5 million. Let's not forget about that collective, because that is a whole other feed that's coming in. Okay. So at that point, the sky is the limit, and there are some astronomical numbers that are out there.
Okay. What people need to understand that are watching this and listening to this is there's a huge divide now. So the schools like the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Michigans that can afford the $20.5 million, they're all going to have another 10 or 20 million. Who knows in NIL? You're talking $30-40 million, right?
Yeah.
Going essentially 80% of the 20 million plus. I mean, you're talking 25-30 million just to football. The group of sixes can't compete with that money. We know that. That's why I always constantly bang the drum. We have to. That's why I asked Jay. We have to be able to just compete in our world, which is the MAC, which is Conference USA, which is Sunbelt, which is lower tier American, right? Who we're going against. If we can do that in roster retention, and retention's in Jay's title, we're going to be fine, because it doesn't matter what group of six school you are across the nation. If you have a player that stands out and shows out, a Power Four is going to give him money where he's going to leave, and there's nothing any group of six program can do. But that's the reality of college football, and the coaches understand it, especially UMass, and they recruit that way. So that's why I've never, and I know I say this a lot, because as a UMass fan, and just I bleed maroon and white, played there. I've said it many times. I honestly have never been more optimistic than I am now, and I mean that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Rene, I appreciate you saying that. And, listen, we all have to do now our part, okay? So from alumni, and it's not just football alumni, okay? Yeah. And we know that some of those big programs are out there. How do they grow? From everybody pulling their own share and putting some of their earnings, into, in our case, into a Script U program. And look, the horses left the barn, right? And we are building something. We need to be able to maintain that. And when you start to see the local businesses getting into it, then we have our alumni base from football and our overall bigger, Massachusetts-based crowd donating back in shamelessly to Script U and to try and help there. That's how we're going to be able to continue to find the best crop of student athletes to come in and to work this machine day in and day out.
Yeah, what I love about with you too, Jay, is that you play there, you're an alum, what this place is all about. I love when you bring back, again, it just means a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? What it was like, how you were treated, what it took to be a successful program, and now you can pass that on to these guys coming in a totally different world, in the way people are today. But I think it's even more important to, like what you said, and I love on your title there with retention, how important relationships and caring about the student athletes and really giving a shit, because you're right, Reedy. I get it. If somebody else is like, hey, here's $6 million, you're probably gone. But if it's negligible or it's close, or even if it's $200,000 and they love UMass and they love you and they love the coach and the experience, whatever, you might keep them, because that's not life-changing money. I know it sounds like a lot, $200,000. It's not. It's not, folks. We know that. Shit's expensive. So hopefully we keep people, right, with the retention part of it, Jay.
So, Mike, interestingly enough, and to your point on the retention side, we need to understand to meet the customer, the student athlete, where they need to be met. Okay. Now, the retention side, in my mind, is I want, for however long you are here, to feel that the University of Massachusetts and our flagship campus is where you're coming back to long after that you've graduated. Okay. And feeling as if you are alumni. It is very easy for me to talk about the Jay Bermant experience in here and what UMass means to me, what it gave me, and how I was able to develop. And, look, each of those different pieces is when I'm talking to, the incoming student athletes or the guys on a daily basis, showing them how important this place is and how much we care. That is the number one thing that led to this class of 26 coming in and so quickly signing. That is what helped us so quickly on the retention side, coming through winter portal into spring portal, keeping everybody here that we wanted. All right. So we're already winning. We haven't played a game yet. All right. So it's easy. But, right now it is showing how important culture is and to that retention.
All right, I got to get one more question, and Jay's got a meeting, and we held him long, and it's because we had technical difficulties. But I got to ask this one question, Jay, and we'll get you out here to go to work, because people are probably curious. So now with the house settlement, does every player on the team, do you physically sign them to a contract where everybody's getting some compensation, even if it's a lesser amount? And if so, what happens to that contract if they say, I want to transfer, I'm going in the portal? Briefly give us that.
Okay, so I'll do it in stages. No, not everybody is getting additional benefits from Massachusetts. Yes, contracts are being issued. Okay, so for anyone that is receiving an additional benefit, they are signing a deal. Okay, and it's a marketing and licensing deal that they're signing. It's an NIL. Opportunity for these players. Look, we have a real need to retain students and to teach them when you sign your name to something, it means something. Okay. So we are aggressively, pursuing that, and to make sure that when people are signing their names onto contracts, they understand what they're signing their names to.
Good.
Awesome. Listen, Jay, I wish we could have you for not. We're going to have you back because there's and so people that are watching and listening to this, if you have specific questions that are on your mind that maybe we didn't get time to, hit up Mike, hit up me on X, hit up Minuteman Command and say, hey, next time you have Jay on, I'm curious about this. Send them our way and we'll get and even if we can't bring Jay back on, we'll get to him. I'll ask him the question. We'll be able to answer it next episode.
Yeah. Appreciate it, Jay.
Guys, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you, buddy. Thank you, Jay.
See you soon, man. No, that's great. Like, look, you're right, Rene. The worst thing about anything is anybody spewing out comments or criticisms or things when you don't know the information, right? Like when you don't know the info. Like we see it all the time, and that's why, I know you don't really do it this way, and neither do I, because again, nothing but bad could come from it. Where you throw on Twitter, X, whatever you want to say, like, this is ridiculous, or why are they doing this? Like, dude, you don't know all the information, right? Sometimes you don't know all the info, and then people love to just throw out ridiculous comments. So good to hear from Jay about that. And I think he's right. The overall culture of the whole school, I get it. Football and basketball, they kind of drive the bus. We know that. But you got to get everybody on board. I mean, you just do. You just do.
Couple things I'll say. One, I think, and I get the fans' frustration. I do, because football. We're talking about football, okay?
Yep.
The commitment was never there. It was never there fully, and we've talked about this from when they did the transition in 2013, 2012, 2013. It was never there. That commitment is there now. And because the entire landscape of college football has changed now with this house settlement, with NIL, with transfer portal, we are not, even though the commitment wasn't there and we were one of the worst programs in the country, you can erase that immediately. And people need to understand that. And Joe Harris-Simiak and his staff, what he's done with the retention, with the recruiting, I believe they're going to do that this year. I really do think this is going to be a 180 season, okay?
Yeah.
Second thing I want people to know, Jay probably kill me for saying this, but I'm going to say this. You want to talk about a commitment to the university? He left his family to take this job, okay, up in Amherst. That's how committed he is to helping the university and football turn this thing around. Now, his family, I'm not going to say where he lives. His family's within a few hours, so it's not like he never sees his family. But still, that's a commitment to leave your career, take a step of faith in a new position, go back to your alma mater and say, yeah, I'm going to do something positive. So there's a ton of people like that within this administration, within the university that truly do care. And the third thing I want to say, and he talked about it a lot, and it gets lost because in the house settlement and NIL, everyone talks about money, money, money. But yes, all the scholarships have gone up, which costs universities a lot of money. So every sport, remember in the old days, like men's baseball might have 4.5 scholarships or something crazy. I think they're up to like 12 or like they all increased. And by the way, football now, for those that don't know, used to be FBS 85 scholarships. It's now 105 scholarships. If and again, you don't have to give 105 scholarships because that costs the universities money. So you may not fully have 105 scholarships. So there's a lot going on. And a person like Jay there, kind of as an executive director with his experience that he brings in, and he works really closely with the GM for football. So we'll have Jay back on again, but we're definitely going in the right direction.
No, I mean, I agree. And here's what other people too, like, I understand. I just said it, like where the money goes and what drives the bus. But listen, you can't have divide amongst yourselves. Like you can't have your whole athletic department or other teams being like, screw this, football gets everything, we don't get anything. It's like, look, those other sports and those other championships go on national TV too, okay? Like you still get a lot of benefit from when our hockey team won the national championship. When all of a sudden baseball is doing a little bit better, or field hockey or lacrosse or whatever it may be, like that's still a benefit, and you certainly don't need those people being like, screw them, they get everything. No, I agree with you. And it's like, if you're going to do it, then do it right. And again, it's not millions of dollars for these other sports and these other scholarships that you just said that you can grow it from 4 to at least 10. Like, give me a break. And now it gives everybody some ammunition, right? Then baseball's going out getting their sponsors. Lacrosse is doing their thing. Everybody else is working their own angles. But, like, I love to see the collective. Like you said, that's what I like how it says mass collective. It's collective.
You got to be pulling the same direction, right?
Yeah.
It can't be a tug of war. And I think for years, UMass was kind of like that. Basketball was, and it's just, football kind of bringing people down. We know that. It's a new day. Speaking of football, and Jay touched on that recruiting, man, what a week.
I know.
For UMass recruiting. And we're not going to get into individual players, but what we're going to say is go to MinutemanCommand.com. Christian, his team, has done a phenomenal job. Not only will you read about the players they signed, but there's interviews on there. There's write-ups. I mean, everything, Now, there was one player, Tyler Bell. He's a 2026 quarterback out of New Jersey, St. Peter's Prep, which is one of the best programs, not only in New Jersey, that's a national program. 2026 commit. A lot of people excited about him, but there's other guys in there. There's a big offensive lineman that was in the NFL Academy, a European, which is phenomenal. So go to Minuteman Command, look at all those signees. And I'm telling you, Joe Harris-Simiak and his staff, I love the mixture, Mike. Transfer portal, got some Ivy League guys, got some Power 4 guys.
Right.
Still hitting the traditional recruiting hard as well. It's a really nice mix, and I like the way they're doing it.
Yeah, we got to get him on too. Yeah. We will, obviously, pretty soon, because I just want to hear like kind of his pitch and what he's saying and what he's doing.
Yep.
Not only him, but the whole staff to get somebody like a Bell. And to your point, they crank out some pretty good quarterbacks in that school too. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're a great quarterback at that school, you're a great quarterback. You know what I mean? It's like to get Tower Bell, that's a big pickup. I mean, it really does show the kind of commitment and what they're, hey, look, what are they selling right now? It's certainly not, what they've done in the past. You know what I mean? You're selling hope, optimism, future, your attitude, all the things that you bring to the table. So that's telling me a lot from what like Coach Harris-Simiak and his staff are doing, because you wouldn't be grabbing these great players, based on your previous results.
You have to have, and we talk about it if you ever watch our broadcast, you have to have that defensive back mentality. And what do I mean by that? A DB gets beat for an 80-yard touchdown, you got to flush it, right? Because you got to come out and play the next play. Same thing. These recruits, what happened before, you kind of flush it. And this is a new, right? A new staff, a new philosophy, a new culture. And because the landscape has changed in college football, players know they can do that 180. Listen, I've said it ad nauseum. I had 3 Buffalo games last year. Buffalo won 3 games the previous year. Last year, they won 9 and won a bowl game. There's no reason why UMass can't do that. None. Zero. So we'll see if it comes to fruition. And before we get out of here, some other news nationally. Looks like there's going to be conference realignment again.
I know. You said we were talking about that yesterday.
I called you yesterday, and we talked about it. So from what I read, and by the way, I'll name drop, talked to Pete Thamel yesterday, and then you did too. We all connected. We won't get into it, but Pete's awesome. And I'm not just saying this because Pete works with us at ESPN. Pete Thamel, in my opinion, is the best college football insider in all of college football, regardless of network. It's phenomenal. Agreed. Good conversation with him. He wrote an article on this realignment, and it looks like July 1st, the new Pac-12, right? The new Pac-12, which was, remember, it was left with Washington State and Oregon State, pulled some Mountain West schools, some good schools like Boise, but they have to have 8 members, I think, by July 1. Yeah. I think they're sitting at 7 because they were never, remember, they went after UNLV. They weren't able to get them. They went after Air Force, weren't able to get them. So now the reporting says it looks like it's going to be Texas State out of the Sun Belt.
How crazy is that, right?
G.J. Kinney's the head coach there. He's really good. And that's smart for them to kind of bring the Texas into play. But now if the Sun Belt loses Texas State, the reporting is Louisiana Tech, who me and you called last year, we did a La Tech game, would slide over into the Sun Belt from Conference USA. So then what does Conference USA do? And we've always talked about Western Kentucky. We've done a few Western Kentucky games the last couple of years. They were always rumored about possibly wanting to go to the MAC.
Right.
And now with UMass, because Western Kentucky has a strong basketball tradition as well. Yeah. So now with UMass going to the MAC, does that sway them at all? If there is movement in their conference, who knows? None of us know where it goes. But, yeah, looks like there's going to be some movement again before July 1st.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Tell you what, like a Texas State, like just think about it for a minute, right? Did anybody even know, or the name, did it even resonate with anybody like 4 or 5 years ago?
I guarantee you, if you ask even hardcore football fans, college football fans, where is Texas State, they wouldn't know, and if they did know, they would pronounce it wrong.
I'm telling you.
I put them on the spot. I won't. It's San Marcos, Texas. San Marcos. It looks like Marcos, but it's San Marcos, Texas. It's just outside Austin, so you would fly in Austin. You drive about 30 minutes. I've actually done 3 games there. So.
I haven't been there. I've done them, but I haven't done it at their place. But look at to your point, and think about it for a minute. Like we would have to save this for another conversation, but think of the schools across the nation, the university, and then the state. Like usually they're pretty like Oklahoma State, like blah, 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 blah. Like it's Texas. And then nobody knew about freaking Texas State. Hey, maybe they can get a name going here. Listen, you know what I mean? It's like it's Texas.
The recruiting's there, and now the money's there, right? When the money comes. So, listen, it's going to be fun. I want to apologize. If the audio was a little bad, I had to jump on my iPad. So also, my other life came into play. So FIFA World Cup club's going on, and I can't say what I'm doing, but I'm working with FIFA for the next 3 weeks. So my head's kind of spinning. I got a lot going on. Yeah. So I apologize. But, again, if you have questions, reference the house settlement or anything that Jay could answer, just get it to me and Mike, and we'll get it there. And listen, I did look up this morning, though. When this podcast airs, 73 days till UMass takes on Temple. So
73 days.
And I'm working, and I don't want to speak for you because I don't know what's official and what's not, but it's officially came out. I work for the American Athletic Conference as well, so I'll be doing their media days. That release came out, and that's July 24th and 25th. So and it's going to be in Charlotte this year for the American.
Yeah. I'm going to be
right around the corner. I mean, it is almost here. It's crazy.
Oh, I know. I'm going to go down to Frisco, Texas, and July 21, 22, I'm doing the Conference USA Media Day. So we'll be talking to those schools. And they've added a few teams as well, including my former Delaware Blue Hens. So that'll be interesting. Yeah. But how about for you? All about football, American football, and then
so listen, for the next 3 weeks, I'm working. Okay, for the World Cup Club.
That's awesome.
Then I go on a vacation that was set up for my daughter's graduation, and then I come back and I basically have 2 weeks to prep.
Right, it's August.
Well, no, not even, like 10 or 12 days of prep for the media days.
Right. Oh, right, media day. Yeah.
You know, I'll go through every American team, but of course that prep helps me for the season as well, just like your CUSA prep when you help you.
Yeah.
And then beginning of August, we'll have our ESPN seminar, and then week 0, boom, we'll be here before you know it. So.
Well, and this is the time, and just to throw Pete Thamel back on here real quick, because he's awesome, and we both talked to him yesterday. Like what he's doing, what he does in the offseason, right? He's calling and talking to all different coaches, not just head coaches, offensive and defensive coordinators of all these schools, all these places that he might not be as familiar with. It's like, why do you think he does such an incredible job and he's that well respected and like? Because of the relationships, right? And the people that he reaches out to. You don't do it in September. You do it now, and you build it up, and you earn their trust and respect. And then when things happen, boom, you make a call, you get a text. I mean, what an incredible resource.
I don't care what business you're in. It's all about relationships, right? And so, in a little inside baseball before we get out of here, we're going to end this before the 40-minute mark. When Mike and I do games, and even when I partner with Courtney, really whoever I partner with, we always try to meet in person with both teams if possible, because just meeting in person other than a Zoom, it solidifies that relationship and that trust. And that's a big deal for them and us as broadcasters. Yeah,
agreed. I mean, not to preach here, but it's like, when we go do a game, like there's like 40, 50 people that work on the games. I mean, that's on our games. Like sometimes a bigger game, like try 100, 150 people, right?
Yep.
I always ask for the crew list. Okay, what's the crew list? Every single person working every single position, from the cable puller to the camera person to the audio, the video. It's like if we went to the office and you didn't know who the frick was working in the cubicle next to you, right? I mean, that's kind of bullshit. So it's like you got to know your team, right? I mean, so it's just a big deal for me, and I know for you too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Hey, Logan, have a great week. Enjoy FIFA. Yeah, and we'll do this again next week.
See you, Mike. See you, everybody. See you next week.
Peace out.